Ooh, ooh. ℎ𝕒𝕗𝓵, flavor's fruitiest, juiciest, and manliest femboy VTuber. Juwun ℙ𝕒𝕗𝓵 at your service. Hello, hello. ℎ𝕒𝕗𝓵 count 7. Hello, ℙ𝕝𝕝. Hello, hello. Hello, stream elements. Hello. Hello, flavor sim. Hello, Roxy. Hello, random verb. Hello, Cha. And hello, breast. I hope I'm reading your names right. I'm just not used to the tag stuff. Okay, it is breasty. Hello, Pim. Hello. What's with a sad face? Your profile picture is sad. Let me just make sure I get your names right. Hello. Was there anyone I missed? Hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening. I wasn't late, okay? I was on time. Here's the thing too. I hurt my arm. And as is usual, I take a bath before the stream. Sorry, ℡𝕒𝓌𝓊𝓃. Hello, hello. Sorry if I missed you. But I hurt my arm. I was clearing the ice of my driveway. And thankfully I didn't fall on my driveway. I fell on the snow. Like in the patch of snow, but it was still frozen over. The snow was pretty much frozen, so it was kind of tough. But I had my snow shovel and I was just gonna plunge it into the snow to get it to like stand. But then that caused me to lose balance and I fell. I don't think I hit my head. I hope I don't. I hope I didn't hit my head. I didn't black out or anything, but I just remember feeling pain in my elbow area. So it hurts to move my arm. Just like even rotating it. Yeah. Just rotating it hurts. Ouch. So taking a bath while tracking the sign of the cross. I don't know. I'm not Catholic. I forgot. Sorry. Sorry, random perv. I wish the what do you call this? The settings for the stream settings carry over between streams. But everything always goes back. Everything goes back to the way it was. Hello, lower face. Hello. Is my glasses making me look like I'm closing my eyes? Wait, let me fix this here. I became too big. Okay, that should be better. Hello, Felix. Not Catholic. I'm leaving. I don't know if I did it right. Just my arm really hurts. So hopefully just a sprain. I don't want to take any pain medicine right now. Just in case I actually hit my head. I don't really think I hit my head. But I'm not taking any pain medication just in case. Should be fluffing a little. Shouldn't be fluffing. What do you mean? I think the topic is gonna become clear tonight that I am not Catholic. But I wanna put a disclaimer, which I have up here. As you can see, I have a little disclaimer thing that I'm not trying to convert anyone. Okay, I just felt like I had time to stream, and so why not stream why I don't usually stream? And I think it will make sense if it doesn't already. If it doesn't already make sense, okay? So, although the topic. Hello, Dolly Khan. My ears are cute. Thank you. Did I say your name right? So, although the topic is gonna be religious in nature, I just assumed. Now, for the reason why I didn't stream for the longest time too, but some Friday nights I'm actually free. There are some Friday nights that I'm actually free, but I don't stream, and you know what? Why not explain it on a Friday night? And I think it's obvious to some people the reason why I don't stream Friday night already. But again, disclaimer, you're a Juwun witness. There you go. But disclaimer, like, I'm not trying to convert anyone. Not trying to convert anyone to Christianity. I'm not trying to convert anyone to my specific kind of Christianity. But it's always appreciated if it is always appreciated if that happens. So just like the last time, I believe the last time we talked about religion was the previous Christmas, not the previous Christmas, the Christmas before. And I did explain why I did that stream and why I do this. And I think it also helps to just, a lot of you guys are there, but I don't think it hurts to reiterate my explanation. So I am not trying to convert people, okay? And some people think like Christians convert other people because we get points or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think Christians try to proselytize? But I'm not trying to get points or anything from God, okay? At the end of the day, I truly do. This is not a conversion stream. We might do that someday. But if ever I start doing that, okay? If ever I start doing that, let me explain myself. I am not doing that to prove myself that I'm right. Okay, I'm right, you're wrong. That's not what I'm trying to do. From my perspective, you can call me delusional, you can call me crazy. That's fine. But from my perspective, okay, I have found the fountain of youth, basically. I have found the fountain of youth. I have found the key to eternity. I have found eternal life. And so I would be stupid. What kind of crazy, non-loving person would not want to share that information? Okay. If I care about you and I see a truck rushing towards you, I may be delusional. I may be hallucinating that truck, okay? But at some point, I am gonna tackle you. If I really do care about people, at some point, I am gonna tackle you. Whether or not the truck is real, if I see the truck there and I care about you, I will tackle you. But again, that is neither here nor there because this is not a conversion stream. But just in case I start yapping, okay? If I start yapping and evangelizing and all that good stuff, it is not because I want to say you're wrong. I just want people to know my heart, okay? I'm not doing this to say I am right and you're wrong. I am doing this because I care. Okay? Okay. I hope I don't offend anyone in this stream. It's not gonna be offensive. I promise that religion is always touchy, but this is not gonna be offensive. Your Unification Church, aren't you? I will not divulge my denomination because I don't want to dox myself. I've already doxed I've already doxed myself several times, and the more I dox myself, the more dangerous it's gonna be. So I'm not gonna give my denomination, but you might, I don't know. I've done stuff like that. It has nothing to do with religion, just being less evil. It's not about being less evil. So from Christianity's perspective, we are all evil. You, me, we're all evil. The point is, everyone is going to die. There's a truck coming towards us. There's a truck going to hit all of us. And the only way to not get hit by that truck, essentially, this is just analogy, is Jesus Christ. So the analogy breaks down at some point. But yeah, I see a truck coming towards you. I'm gonna prevent you from getting hit by that truck. Juwunification Church. If the possible gets on my nerves, I can always go to another streamer. Still going. There we go. But I am not a unification church. I don't even know what that is. I do not know what a unification church is. You have faith in your evil. Hello, Sokoaki. Hello. But yeah, that is essentially what Christianity teaches. We're all evil. Everyone, every single person deserves hell, me included. But that is neither here nor there. That's not the topic of today's stream. The topic of today's stream is why I do not stream on Friday evenings. And I think there is South Korean church, very interesting bunch of people. Oh, lots of heretics. Lots of heretics that have spawned from South Korea, but I've never heard. I could have heard of them, but I'm not sure. Are they related to the Moonies? So I am very unprepared for this stream. Very unprepared. I've been busy. It just came to me. Whoa, my thing fell. Sorry, my hands fell down. Okay, my hands are back. Okay, I broke my hands in real life, and now I broke my hands. Okay. This is what I get for not having a proper clip or something. Nothing's more interesting than the Japanese cult. There's a reason why Japanese are not don't have a very good, not very good. I guess so. Don't have a very good perception of religion, is because of those Japanese cults, which is why ℡𝕝 is very interesting. Okay, a little sidetrack here. But something I like about ℡𝕝 is that unlike a lot of anime where the religious guys end up being the bad person, the Pope is bad, the priests are bad, the church is bad. For some reason, at least in ℡𝕝, unification church are the Moonies, so they're heretics. And I say that with love. You know, when a Christian calls you a heretic, they're not always saying it out of hate, you know. I would like to be called a heretic too, because if a Christian tells me, hey, you're a heretic, then that means they're telling me that I am wrong and I have to change. Which I've been called many times. I've been called a heretic many times, which is fine. Hello, Kira. Thank you for the raid. Thank you. Kira is not stinky. Thank you for the raid. How was your stream? What were you streaming? I hope you didn't dump people on a controversial stream. This is not going to be controversial. This is just going to be more yappage. Okay, it's just going to be yappage, but with a tinge of religiosity. More, excuse me, what happened to my voice? Effed up theology, but they're a very interesting culture. Yeah, they do. For me, this is kind of hard to explain, but I see Mormons as atheists. Yeah, people are going to disagree with me, but I see Mormons as atheists. Why? Because for Mormons, God is just a very powerful alien, and everyone's going to become like God eventually. So there is no real philosophical God. When you talk about the philosophical God, you know, the first mover, the ultimate actualizer, that does not exist in Mormon theology. So I see Mormonism as sort of atheism, which I say with love because I have had Mormons come to my door. Mormons have come to my door before, and I yapped to them so much they don't bother me anymore. I think the Mormons blacklisted me, bro. The Mormons probably blacklisted me because I have never seen a Mormon come by. I've been cold approached by Mormons multiple times. I think they blacklisted me. I'm good. How about you? How was your stream, Kara? Just ripped off Mormons are more evil? I don't know really much about Scientology, but I know a bit about Mormons. I have been visited by Jehovah's Witnesses, but they always catch me at a bad time. So I don't have really much time to chat with Jehovah's Witnesses. But I'm pretty sure Mormons have already blacklisted me. This is so funny. Because I remember the first time the Mormon missionaries visited me. I was just wearing really short shorts, and I invited them to my house, and we chatted, and I think they felt something was off. And they came back the next time, we chatted some more, and then after that, I never saw them again. It's not because I would argue. I tried not to be argumentative, but I tried to point out some stuff. I didn't call them heretics. Maybe I should have. Out of love. I out-yapped the Mormons. I did. I did out-yap the Mormons. And I might be blacklisted because I have never seen another Mormon missionary come by. Poor guys. Poor guys. I do think, you know, they're kind of good for society. Keeping the population up and all. But I it's not about, you know, Christianity is not about moralizing. It's not about being a moral person. That comes afterwards, obviously. But the goal of Christianity is not to make more moral people. The goal of Christianity is to make saved people, and the saved people become moral people. But again, that is neither here nor there. So, like I said, I am super unprepared, but I do have a little document here that I started typing maybe a few words. Excuse me. I typed in a few words to make an outline of sorts, okay? So this all came to me in a dream. Not really. This did not come to me in a dream. But can I see you guys? Can you see me? Is everything clear? I am already having the sniffs. Let me try. Okay, let's hopefully the nose spray helps. If not, I could eat a lozenge. Eat a lozenge. I could throw a lozenge in my mouth. Short wearing motor mouth tiger boy confirmed Mormon hard counter. Bro, if you encounter a Mormon, just send them my way if you want to get rid of them. Just kidding. Okay, so this is basically all I have written down on my paper. I thought about this a long time ago. I can't remember it. It must have been relatively recent, but something just blew my mind. Something really crazy just sort of blew my mind. And it's not something very profound on first glance, but as I was thinking about it, I thought, this is kind of crazy. So why do I not stream on Friday evenings? Okay, I'm gonna dox myself a little bit here. But it's not a super hard dox. But that is because I never thought about how to make this more suspenseful. But really there's nothing really to build up. So what happens Friday evenings? It's because it's the Sabbath. Okay. A little bit of doxing there. But that is because Friday evening is the Sabbath. Now, a lot of people might say, Juwun, isn't that on Sunday? Isn't that on Sunday? And it sort of is. It sort of is, as we will continue with the stream here. It sort of is, but if you were to look at the historical aspect of what the Sabbath is, the Sabbath starts from Friday evening. So that is basically, yeah, Seventh-day Adventists are Sabbatarians, but as we will go on in our stream here, they're probably the biggest. They might be the biggest Sabbatarians. They might be the biggest Sabbatarians in the West, but they are not the only Sabbatarians in the West. I think they were even branched off from the Seventh-day Baptists. But that is because of the Sabbath. Interestingly enough, Charlie Kirk, I'm not going to write his name down there, but Charlie Kirk was also a Sabbatarian. So what does being a Sabbatarian mean? It doesn't necessarily mean you belong to a certain denomination. I think you can still be whatever denomination you want to be. But it's all about observing some form of Sabbath. But here, stay with me for a little bit. I am not gonna blow your mind. I don't know if the Charlie Kirk stuff blew your mind, but I hope to pique your interest a little bit. Okay, so the reason why I do not stream on Friday evenings is because it is the Sabbath, which starts from Friday evening to Saturday evening. So I'm not trying to say that, no, you can't stream on Sabbath. It is wrong to stream on Sabbath. You should not watch videos, play video games, or all this stuff on the Sabbath. No, I'm not saying that's what you're supposed to do. But it's a bit of something like fasting. It's sort of like fasting. I know that Erica Kirk is Catholic. I didn't know that. I just knew that Charlie Kirk observed the seventh-day Sabbath. But yeah, what was I saying again? Yeah, it's sort of like fasting, where you sacrifice a little bit of your time and essentially rest. Basically, yes. Basically, religiously mandated digital detox. Something like that. So why am I yapping about this now? Because I want to stream. Simply because I want to stream. Now, if I were just to stream a video game, that doesn't make it like unique. I will be treating it just like every other day. The purpose of the Sabbath is to have the day sort of unique. Which is interestingly, for people who don't know, that is what holy means. Holy does not mean like light. It does not mean like, well, it can mean like religious. observing stuff. Literally sitting to stream. She loves us. No, I am not sitting. I am not committing a sin, and we will go more into this later. But basically, the word holy here. You know what? I didn't even plan this out. I don't have an outline. I'm just gonna yap. Does not mean religious or it does sort of mean like sinless, but it does not mean religious or righteous or better. It can no, it doesn't really necessarily mean that. Is there a strikeout? How do you strike out in Google Docs? Is there a way to strike through in Google Docs? I am super not familiar with Google Docs. How do you... Is there a font? Nope, that's fine. Edit. Whatever. We're just gonna do this. What day of service? Saturday. So holy does not mean like light. I know like in anime and in video games, holy is like light type or like religious. That is not what it means. Whoa. The best... I do not know how to use Google Docs, forgive me. I do not know... Oh, how do you use Google Docs, sorry? You should silence your phones on the Sabbath. Just kidding. And in 20 minutes, I'm a cheat on Juwun, truly in perpetual... Good for you. Okay. What holy means essentially is unique. And how do we know this? Because the opposite of holy is not unholy. I guess it is, in sort of a way. It is unholy. But the opposite of holy is common. The opposite of holy is common. You will see this a lot in the Bible. Hello, Mateso. Hello. My hand is not working. Truly, my hand is broken. There. So the opposite of holy is not unholy, but common. That's why you'll see, especially like in the King James Version, do not blah, 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 what is common for the holier. You will see this word used a lot in opposition to holy. It just means common. So when I, not you, when I observe the Sabbath, I'm going to admit it straight 100%. I'm going to admit I do not observe the Sabbath 100%. I don't think there's a single person who can observe the Sabbath 100% holy, whatever. But I am gonna bring my thesis forward that the majority of the world observes the Sabbath. So that is my thesis. So not because... Why did I put this here? I guess I'm not doing this to convert people, but it would be nice. I'm not doing this to make to why is there a space there? To turn peeps into Sabbatarians. Not. And what else? And not because I want to reclaim the Holy Land. So I'm not doing this. I am not doing this to convert people, okay? I am just yapping because I want to stream. I want to stream. I want this to be a unique stream. Therefore, that is what I am doing right now. What? What is the Sabbath? The Sabbath is so I think we're gonna erase this. I don't know why I put that because I already have it up here. Well, I guess I didn't describe the Sabbath. What is the Sabbath? Well, essentially the Sabbath is the 7th day of creation in Genesis. Starts, well, I already put it here. That's already pretty much there. AKA Saturday. Now, even the Catholic Church, even the Catholic Church will tell you that yes, the Sabbath is Saturday. I think this is in the Catholic. I think it's in the Catechism. Catholics, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is in the Catechism. So I should have put this at the start, but for those church going peeps, you do your pastor, your priest, the speaker, whatever, broke his elbow. I have no one beats me up, okay? I do the beating. I do the beating here. So this verse is the verse that sort of blew my mind. Now this verse here, let me just copy it. Why don't we just copy the whole verse and paste it into my Google Docs? I am at least 90% sure that our Mass Day and Sabbath Day are the same, although I can be wrong. I think I'm not sure. Probably check up your catechism. But I'm pretty sure the catechism says that the Sabbath is Saturday, but you celebrate Sunday in honor of the resurrection or something like that. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But historically, let's put historically. Sabbath falls on Saturday. That's why when you look up the old languages, like for example, Spanish, the biggest language this side of the Atlantic is Sábado. And I'm pretty sure the other languages on the other side. But that's pretty much, yeah, historically speaking. Now, this is the verse that kind of blew my mind. I was reading this. I don't remember how I came across this verse, but this was the verse that sort of blew my mind. And it kind of sounds crazy at first. It sounds crazy. It's weird, but it's even crazier than it sounds in actuality. So we will read this. And this is found in Isaiah. We're going to approach this from a more historic analysis. We're not going to be, of course, it's religion. Of course, this is religion, but we're not going to assume religious stuff. We're just going to take this from a sort of historic, secular point of view. So this verse kind of blew my mind because we will explore this. We're going to explore this, but this is my thesis. Time for me to cheat again. There's no cheating. You're free to watch whoever you want to watch. And I'm just thankful that people are here to watch. The thing about just chatting streams is that at the start of the just chatting stream, people are still coming in and because not everyone shows up at the start of the stream. So it tends to pick up at the middle or something, and some people might miss the start. But thankfully, we have some kind of document we're building here. We have a document that we're building up here, and then this document we can trace back. But yeah, I'm just glad there are people here. Because just chatting streams, you know, the thing about game streams is that you don't really need... I can't get rid of this. How do you remove the F3? The dark mode is in the way. I can't close that. Whatever. I'll just leave that up there. But the thing about just chatting streams, it can feel even lonelier than a gaming stream, because when you're gaming, you can just talk to yourself like a crazy person. But when you're doing a just chatting stream and you actually have a topic like this one, it's always better when people are interacting. And I hope I don't scare people off. But I'm not trying to say I'm correct and you're wrong. Even though I'm correct and you're wrong. Just kidding. I'm not forcing my views onto anyone, but you're free to agree or disagree. But it's always good. Interaction is always super good in a just chatting stream. If I can just get... Okay, there, that's better. Now, what is it yapping about? Oh, this verse. Okay, let's read this verse. Wait, what version is this? We need to go ESV. Now, NIV. We are in NIV. Now, for people who know their stuff, the latest version of the NIV is like the Rockstar Bible. I don't know if it still is the Rockstar Bible, but around the when did the latest version of the NIV come out? But it was like the Rockstar Bible when the latest version. Yes, that is correct. Bibles do get updated. Bibles do get updated, and the latest version of the New International was like the Rockstar version. But before that, the ESV was always the Rockstar Bible. So this is my Rockstar Bible. We will go to the ESV because this is my Rockstar Bible. People have their favorites. This one is mine. Why, Juwun? Why is the ESV your favorite? That is simple. Because it sounds like the KJV. It sounds like the KJV, but it is updated. You're good. I'd chat more if I wasn't in a game. Well, play safe. Play safe. And don't forget to gank mid. I have a New American Bible at home, but most of the time I just read whatever the USCCB. I don't know. Is that some kind of Catholic organization? Okay, here. We have the ESV. The English Standard Version, which was like super rockstar before the NIV came out. And yes, they do update the Bible. But that's probably a topic for another day. Okay. So our verse for the day. Oh, okay. Our verse for the day is Isaiah 66, 22-24 from the ESV. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your offspring and your name remain. From new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh shall come to worship me. 24 is extra, but that's there for fun. It's a gruesome verse, but we will keep it there. We will just keep that there. And they shall all go out and look on the dead bodies who have rebelled against me, for their worm shall not die, their flank shall not crash, and they shall be an abhorrence to it. Let's just remove that. No, you know what? We're gonna keep it there. Assuming I'm playing League, I'm thinking that is an insult. What else will you require? A high level of concentration. So as you can see, this verse is pretty eschatological. So what eschatology? Do I know how to spell eschatology? Okay, this verse is eschatological. It means it is about the end. End times. End of days. What is the correct terminology? But basically, eschatology pertains to the end times. So this is about the new heavens and the new earth. It's about all the wicked are dead now. All the wicked are dead bodies of men, dead bodies of men, the new heavens, new earth. But what really blew my mind is this part here. Now I'm not this is not my thesis yet. We are still getting we are still getting to my point here. But I found this part interesting here. And I would like you to put a pin on this section here. So we will highlight this there. We will come back to that later. So from a historical perspective, what is the Sabbath? So the Sabbath is something that is unique. The Sabbath is unique in that it came out in the Near East. No, let's change it. Unique. It is unique in the Near East. Now, why was it unique? Every Near Eastern culture had holidays. The Sabbath is unique though. That's why the Old Testament calls it holy, keep it holy and all that, is because it is unique. Unique in a way that it forced, how do we phrase this? It forced masters, rulers, slave owners to give their slaves a break. A weekly 1-day break. So if we were to go like the history of Sabbath in Old Testament. Obviously the first mention of the Sabbath is in Genesis. But if you were to assume like Genesis is allegorical, okay, first in Genesis, but we can assume just for the sake of a historical perspective, we can assume this is allegorical. So the true first mentioning of the Sabbath, I believe, is in Exodus 16. Right here. Right in this part here. Wait, I'm sure it came before that. Like I said, I am woefully unprepared. When does Moses first go to Pharaoh? You know what? Exodus 3, that's when the burning bush. What's Exodus 4? Okay, let's go to the next chapter. This is it. So the first mention of some sort of Sabbath is in Exodus chapter 5, where God tells Pharaoh, "Let my people," or Moses, where Moses tells Pharaoh, let's write that in our document here. Oh, we should use bullet points. No, I do not know how to use Google Docs. Exodus 5. Moses tells Pharaoh, let's find the exact words here. Let my people go that we may hold a feast in the wilderness. To let my people go and have feast in wilderness. This is essentially the first description of a Sabbath. Because what is going on here? Moses wants Pharaoh to release his people and give them a break. In the story here, the Israelites have been enslaved for hundreds of years. 300, 400 some years. I can't remember. 300, 400, whatever. They have been slaves for that long time without a break. Not a single break. Let's just say have a Sabbath, which is essentially rest. That's what Sabbath means, rest. So what does Pharaoh do? He says, shut up. He says, shut up. I am going to make their work harder. You want a break? I will give you heavier labor. So now Pharaoh wants the Israelites to work harder. But essentially, that is the first mention of some sort of Sabbath. Now, if we go to Exodus 16, this is where a Sabbath is actually more properly described. Here, you have a Sabbath. So in Exodus 16, description of Sabbath observation. Observation. I do not know how to spell. Now, Exodus 20 is the 10 Commandments. And this is where you have the fullest description of what the seventh day is. And that is in here you go. So now this is essentially what the Sabbath. So this is what the Sabbath is. So we can copy paste this into our document. And I want you to take note about the way it is described here. How do we continue? How do we continue the count after 4? Will it let me continue the count after 4? Okay. There we go. I am such a genius. I am so smart. I do not know how to use Google Docs. This is my first time using Google Docs. Okay. Now this is the full description of what the Sabbath is. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Like that is what we saw earlier, holy. It has to be unique. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath, which means rest. We can just add this. This is my addition. Sabbath, rest to the Lord your God. On it you shall do no work. So you do not work on the Sabbath, but the next part is what is very important here. This next part is the most important part of the verse. People seem to skip over this part, but this is the most important. For about your male servant, your female servant, your livestock, or the sojourner. So what is this? What is this saying? Yeah, it's saying you shall do no work. That's good. You don't work. Your son and your daughter don't work, but your servants too. This is the big thing here. So in the Near Eastern cultures, they did have holidays. They did have holidays and holy days, but these were for their kings, religious rulers, festivals. There were also festivals. People could participate, but no one was forced to give people a break. the uniqueness of the ancient Israelite or Jewish, I guess. What makes this interesting in my perspective here is that this was unique in that it forced oh here. I'm just repeating myself. Good to know. Repetition is the key to memorizing stuff. It forced masters, rulers, slave owners to give their slaves a 1-day break. So Orthodox Jews and many fundamentalists have some really strict versions of this. The extent of electricity, yeah, that is the problem there. Because if you were to go by the book, like by the letter, so by the letter of the law, it's just basically rest. Doesn't say you can't play video games. Doesn't say you can't use machinery. It doesn't say you can't travel. It just says you have to rest. Whatever you add on top of that is extra. Whatever you add on top of that is just extra. The goal here is just rest. And you should give your servants a break. This is the big part here. This is your first the first workers' rights. So this is basically the first in history workers' rights. This is where we get. Some people don't realize this, but this is where we get workers' rights. Nowadays, you have like, for example, in my field, nursing, some states require. Not some states, I think all states at this point, but they require employers to give their workers a 30-minute break. They're required to give a 30-minute break. But imagine back in the Israelites' time, back in the Israelites' time, they were working 24/7, and now they're being forced. They're being compelled to take a break. This is people think this is about, I need to prove myself to be the best person in the universe. I will not use electricity. I'm not gonna cook food. I'm not gonna watch TV. Something like that. No. This is not about you. Hello, Hath. Hello. Welcome to the stream. And PSA, I'm not trying to convert people. If I can just grab the text. Why is that moving? There, now you will not move. Let's just go up here. I am not trying to convert people, but it would be nice. Not to convert people, but it would be nice. Okay, there we go. But we are having a bit of a religious topic today. Hopefully I'm not turning people off. But I just find this interesting. I'm sorry, Enrique Luna. I missed your message earlier. Wow. I hope you're still here. Catholicism. Sunday is the Sabbath, but the ceremonial observance of Sunday replaces. There you go. Was that from the Catechism? Thank you for that. I'm sorry I missed your message earlier. But yeah, if you're still here, thank you very much. But that is what the Sabbath is. Now, if we were to go to the retelling of the 10 Commandments, which is, I believe, in Deuteronomy, is it 4 or 5? I think it's 5. Here, the 10 Commandments. Okay. Deuteronomy basically means the second telling of the law. So this is just like a reiteration. Sorry, all right, Canadian. Who's a Canadian? I'm not Canadian. Okay, let's go. Where is the Sabbath? All right, let's copy this. We're gonna copy that. And this really drives it home. What verse is that? 5:12. Whatever, we're just Deuteronomy 5. This is Deuteronomy 5. And then we're gonna, let's see, continue our count. We're gonna continue our count. I am such a genius. I am very smart. Don't let people deceive you into telling that I'm dumb. I am not dumb. I just do need to clear my mouth very often. All right, let's go. Deuteronomy 5. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, as your Lord your God commanded you. 6 days shall you labor. It's saying that again. Okay, like in the first telling, it's telling you why. Because it is a remembrance. It's a celebration of creation. It tells you that, hey, the 7th day, going back to Genesis, it's a reminder that God created the world in 7 days. However, in Deuteronomy 5, it says it a little differently. It's a Sabbath to your Lord. You shall not work, you, nor your son, your daughter, your male servant. There you go again. Your male servant, your female servant, your ox. See, even the animals get a break. Even the animals get a break. So this essentially compels like the farmer, the slave owner, the master, whatever, and the foreigner here. It compels them. These are, you can say these are, what is the proper word? These are vulnerable, let's say. It protects vulnerable populations. Let's just say that. It protects your female servant, protects your male servant, protects your animals too. Lower class people, that works too. And the foreigner or the sojourner. Ice much? Just kidding. We're not gonna go political, okay? We're not gonna go political with this. Or the surge. It's already a religious stream. Let's not turn it political. I have no I have no comment in the current situation. I have not been following the news. But if you follow the reasoning in the next verse, here's the big one. Why do you keep the Sabbath? Because you will remember that you are a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord God commanded to keep the 7th day. So here's the reason for the Sabbath now. It's because you remember that you're a slave. Remember that you're a slave, so you also have to take care of your slaves or your servants. At the time, you're supposed to give them a break. God liberated you from Egypt. Now, this is where the Christian symbolism of the Sabbath comes in. Jesus is our Sabbath. Jesus is our rest. So we are freed from the slavery of sin. But that is the Christian perspective. But we're going for a historical perspective here. So let us go back to this verse here that I find very interesting. I hope no one's hearing me burp. I am burping so much. That is because I am drinking sparkling water. Sparkling water. Okay, let's go back to this verse here. So this, like we said, this verse is prophetic. It is prophetic. It is eschatological. The end times, end days. Did you buy it? So no, I did not. I did not. I just bought more. What is San Pellegrino? Is that what S stands for? San Pellegrino? I don't know. Okay, I know that there are some. I think most of my followers are not Christian, so I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not going over this very quickly. I know I can talk really fast, so let me know to slow down if what I'm saying is not making any sense. I just grabbed one while I listened to you yap while getting groceries. Drive safe. I don't know. I don't know if you're in the snowy area, but stay safe while you're out there. I can't believe it. San Pellegrino should sponsor me. Please sponsor me, San Pellegrino. I drink you on stream. Give me money. Okay, you're home now. That's good. Give me money on the Sabbath day where I'm not supposed to work. That's another thing. You're not supposed to work on Sabbath days. Streaming work, I don't know, but the stream is not monetized. So we're good. We're good there. Okay, let's go back to this verse here. That's the history of the Sabbath in the Old Testament. We're gonna skip that. And we're gonna talk about, or let's continue talking about it. Stream isn't monetized, therefore it's a hobby. There you go. Okay, let's go back to Isaiah 66, 22 to 23. So this is talking about the future. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your offspring and your name remain. From new moon to new moon, and from Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh, this is a very big thing here, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares the Lord. Now this verse sounds crazy. I mean, you can tell me right now, it sounds crazy. But what makes it even crazier, it sounded even crazier back in the day. Why? Why? Well, because this was written in 800 BC. I think 800 BC. Somewhere there. Somewhere there. Isaiah, if we believe this to be written by Isaiah, flesh. If we believe this to be written by Isaiah lived around 800 BC. This was before Babylonian captivity. However, historical scholars have divided Isaiah into three. What we call the book of Isaiah is actually divided into Isaiah 1. Let's just go Isaiah 1, 2, and 3. And it is believed to have been, yes, before Daniel. So this was before Babylonian captivity. But historical scholars believe Isaiah 3, although this may have been like copied from the original Isaiah. Let's just say, because Isaiah lived in let's say 800 BC. Isaiah lived in 800 BC. So if we believe there was like an original manuscript, if there was an original manuscript in 800 BC that was copied by Isaiah 3, historical scholars believe this to be written around, I think it's around 500 BC. You're gonna have to fact check me. Someone fact check this. Honest question, never heard of Sabbatarianism. How did you get into it? Grew up with it? Sabbatarianism, okay. It's another one of those isms in Christianity. I was born and raised observing the Sabbath, if that's what you're asking. But there are a lot of isms in Christianity. Now, if you're not Catholic, if you're like, I'm assuming Felix is Catholic. If you're Catholic, then you have the magisterium. Everything the magisterium says you have to believe, essentially. These are essential doctrines that you must believe if you want to call yourself a Catholic. However, for Protestants, God is good. I'm just not very good to him. Aren't we all? Aren't we all? That was what you're talking about. Born and raised. So there are a lot of isms in Christianity. Outside the Catholic Church, you will find a lot of isms. So Sabbatarianism, annihilationism, Calvinism, Arminianism, pre-trib, post-trib, millennialism. There are a lot of isms. Sabbatarianism is not my religion. Sabbatarianism is not my religion, but it is one of those isms. It's one of those isms that my denomination holds. Yeah, it's a practice. A lot of those isms. I do not have the tism though. I have a lot of isms. I do not have the tism. 100%. You can bet your money on that. I do not have the tism. But yeah, Sabbatarianism, very much doubt. There's no doubt to be had. I do not have the tism. So it's around 500 BC. Now, here's what is crazy about 500 BC. Can we pull up a map? I do not know how to type. Okay, map. 500 BC. Let's go. India, the time of Buddha. We don't care about Buddha. You don't even see. Here, look at this map. You don't even see the kingdom of Israel, or at least Judah. Let's go through images. How about this? Here, the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire. Let's do this. Based from Reddit. Thank you very much, Reddit. Okay, this is from Reddit. So this is the Persian Empire, 500 BC. This is cringe though. You can't see this, but there's a BCE over here. It's a good thing we cover the BCE because the BCE is cringe. Me and my homies use BC. Okay, so look at this map of the then known world. This is the then known world, okay? This is what blows my mind. Look at the then known world. Look for this person. Look for Mr. Isaiah. Yeah, they do believe it was written during the Persian Empire. Period. I don't know what it's called. Let's just call it the Persian Empire period. So this is the Persian Empire. Look for Mr. Isaiah. That is it. That is it right there. Jerusalem. This is what absolutely blows my mind. It's kind of bonkers. But this is my thesis. Okay, this is my thesis. Juwun's thesis. Everyone observes the Sabbath. This is my thesis. Okay. It sounds crazy. Right? But my thesis is that everyone observes the Sabbath. I don't care if you're Christian, I don't care if you're Jewish, I don't care if you're Muslim or Hindu. Everyone observes the Sabbath. Look at this map here. 500 BC, right there is Jerusalem. That is Jerusalem right there. Who observes the Sabbath in this map? Look at this map here. What is observing the Sabbath again? If we're to go back here, if you go back here, it is a day of rest. Remember, Sabbath to keep holy, but 7 days Sabbath rest. Let's make that blue. Make it a little different. Okay. You rest on the Sabbath. That is true. That is what blows my mind. If you look for people who observe the Sabbath, 500 BCE, so let's say this is like 2,500 years ago. About 2 millennium ago, this little dot over here, let's bring the world map. Give me a nice looking map, y'all. Everyone observes the Sabbath. 2,500 years ago. Okay, 2,500 years ago, Mr. Isaiah says this stuff. Mr. Isaiah, 2,500 years ago says, Sabbath the Sabbath, all flesh. Now, this part obviously hasn't occurred yet. This part hasn't occurred yet, but it's still pretty crazy that everybody, look at this map here, every single people in Hawaii. Okay, you don't see the whole thing. Let's zoom out. There we go. People in Hawaii observe the Sabbath. People over in Japan observe the Sabbath. People in New Zealand. People probably in Antarctica. Do they have a Sabbath in Antarctica? I don't know. But the thing is, this is where we get our weekend. The ancient Jewish Sabbath is where we get our weekend. And this just came to me in a dream. What about the Sentinel Islanders? Not yet. Not yet. We're gonna conquer them eventually. Remember, this is eschatological. Again, this is prophetic eschatological. But the trajectory you're seeing here, this is the trajectory we're seeing. 2,500 years ago, only this tiny dot over here. Only that tiny dot observes the Sabbath. 2,500 years later, everyone is. That is the part that sort of blew my mind. And I thought, whoa, this is crazy. The Sabbath is where we get our weekend. The Jewish Sabbath is where we get our weekend. How did that extend to Sunday? Obviously, I know the last missionary who tried it ended up dead. He wasn't very strategic there. Wasn't very strategic on how he did it, but you know, this is how I see things. The arc of history seems to be swinging towards what Isaiah said. We're getting a little bit religious here now. I apologize to the non-religious viewers. But 2,500 years ago, this was absolute nonsense. No one would believe this. No one would say, wow, that seems possible. Why is this small backwards country? Let's remember what the ancient Israelites were. They were very insignificant. They were very. Are you colonizing? I don't know. Give me 5 priests and a tank, and then we can do this. 5 priests and maybe a destroyer. Then we can do that. That's how we're gonna bring Jesus to the Sentinel Islands. But the ancient Israelites, let's do this. We're an insignificant country? Is that the right word? Country, kingdom? They were gotta have at least one nidus worm. What is a nidus worm? The femboys on the internet are trying to turn me religious. Well, like I said, it is not the intention, but you know, it would be nice. I went to StarCraft Tower. They were an insignificant country kingdom. Always the conquered. Always the conquered. Never the conquerors. And we're not gonna really dive femboy religion. We're not gonna dive into it, but actually Moses predicts this. Moses actually predicts this. That they will always be conquered. That the Israelites will always be conquered. The book of Deuteronomy. Excuse me. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses is basically retelling the law to the Israelites. And he's saying that because you're not going to keep the law, you will always be conquered. Your women will be enslaved. Your kings will send your boys to war. You will always be conquered. Moses predicted that. But they were an insignificant country. They were always conquered. What else can we What else can we write here? Just think about it. However, among their contemporaries, they are the only ones whose, let's say, traditions, beliefs are held to this day. Let's spell this properly. Now think about it. As a Filipino living in Florida, the best method of civilizing the Sentinelese are sending 10 non-sexual Spaniards, Jesuit friars, and 10 very horny Spaniards. There you go. 80 very horny Spaniards. You know, that is how they conquered Mesoamerica. It's always the Spaniards. It's always the Spaniards. Now think about it. Okay? Think about the Assyrians. Or the Assyrian Empire. Why'd you go back? Dead. There are people. Hello, Nicola. Hello. Welcome to the stream. We're like on the. I can't believe we've only done 3 pages. I feel like I've been yapping a lot. But the Assyrian Empire is dead. No one worships Dagon. Is that an Assyrian god? Is Dagon an Assyrian god? I don't know. How about the Babylonians? Or I guess the Neo-Babylonians. The Neo-Babylonians. They conquered the Israelites. The Assyrians conquered the northern tribes. Baal. Okay, there you go, Baal. Wait, Baal is Canaanite. Baal is Canaanite, so I'm not sure. But the Neo-Babylonians, they're all gone. All gone. No one worships Ishtar. Persians. Are there still some Zoroastrians here? Persians. Or I don't know, Zoroastrians? Anyone here in chat? Are still around. We call them Iraqis, but they're all Muslim now. I think they still exist. But the Persian Empire, I guess we'll call this empire. We're gonna call these empires. Empire. Assyrian Empire, near Babylonian Empire. How about the Hellenist Greece? We're gonna have to go with the Hellenistic. because the Greeks are still around. But the thing about the Greeks are all Christian now. Dead language. Dead language. No one worships Zeus. How about the Romans? Romans, another dead language. Another dead language. No one worships Juwun. This is another way to primordial Zeus. Okay, let's go. The Byzantines, the Byzantines. The femboys killed Rome, but unfortunately no one worships Juwun anymore. Primordial, I guess we could say Neo Zeus. The Neo Zeus. This is let's call this Jupiter Juwun. The Neo Zeus. Byzantines were a blend of Roman and Greek. Yeah, the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, which fell to the Ottomans, and that is why we no longer have Constantinople. We need to reclaim Constantinople, by the way. But look at the pattern here. The Assyrian Empire, which was the biggest empire of its time. Look at this. Look at this. This is the Achaemenid. I do not know how to pronounce this. The Achaemenid, whatever. Persian Empire. Persian Empire. Do we observe any? We do. What do we do? Do we observe any like Persian holidays? Probably. I'm not sure. I don't really know. Do we have any Persian practices? I'm not exactly sure. But this little dot over here, which is where all the Jews came from. Where all the Jews came from, this little dot here, over here. Now, the major religions. Major religions are all, let's just call it Abrahamic. And everyone observes some form of the weekend. This is what is really, this is the part that is, we need to take back, oh yeah, we need to take back Constantinople. We it's in general or what you practice? I am lost. All of us in general should take back Constantinople. And we should turn back the Church of the Hagia Sophia back to a church. Oh no, I've just driven out all the Muslims from my chat. Is Meso a Muslim? Are you still here, Meso? That's a practice I can stand for. Why are my eyes like closed? Hello? My eyes are open. Okay. So aside from the Abrahamic religions, obviously Hinduism is the biggest, but the majority religions are Abrahamic. You have the three big ones. The biggest obviously being Christianity, and then Islam, and then Judaism. All spawned from this tiny little dot over here. Who were very insignificant. What if we start with taking back Minnesota? We probably should. We probably should. I'm going to tell you a story from several years ago. I was still a new nurse. I was a new nurse, and I worked in a hospital that was really in the boonies. Like in the middle of nowhere. Funny how that works. That's what blew my mind, yo. That's what, when I was contemplating the universe, this kind of blew my mind. But back to my story. So everyone knows I lived in Minnesota for the longest time, and I lived in the middle of nowhere. So when I had to get my can't remember what it was. It must have been for my ACLS. Probably my ACLS. I had to drive to St. Paul. And I had to stay in St. Paul for like the weekend or something. I can't remember. Weekend or what, but I had to go to St. Paul and I got lost. And I drove into this neighborhood. And I tell you, it did not feel like America for whatever reason. And I was driving on an interesting vehicle at the time. And I drove into this. It was, I wouldn't call it no, it was not a cul-de-sac. It was more like an apartment complex. Sort of like an apartment complex. And I felt like I had driven into a different country because everyone was Somalian. And I was kind of worried. I was kind of worried for a little bit there. Ouch. My arm really hurts. I can't even twist my arm because it hurts. But I hope I'm not being I hope I'm not being racist here. But it just felt like I had driven into a different country. And so this is way back. I don't know what it's going now, but what's happening there now, but apparently with all the fraud and stuff, it sounds like it's not good. But that was my story. They kind of crowded around me because I had an interesting looking car. But they never did anything weird or stuff. They just stared at me, which is expected, if someone drives in your neighborhood and they don't look like you, which is kind of weird, right? But I don't know. I feel like they probably jammed the Somalians into Minnesota because they thought that Somalians will not survive the cold, but they've managed to survive the cold somehow. Did you take your test at a learning center? At a leering center. Did I take my test at a leering center? Well, fortunately, the place where I took my test was affiliated with the American Heart Associations. So I did get a real learning opportunity. Juwun needs to learn to be more racist. Americans are super pirate phobic. They're afraid of illegal downloads. Here's the thing though, like if you believe, okay, I'm not trying to be political here, but if you're to believe how do I phrase this? The progressive doctrine, isn't the progressive doctrine of original sin, isn't their doctrine of original sin is that we're all racist? Like everyone is racist. So I guess when everyone's racist, no one is. I don't know. But isn't that someone from the other side? If you can correct me, but isn't the doctrine of original sin mean that everyone is racist? Everyone has biases? There you go. If everyone's racist, then is it really that bad? The Christian doctrine of original sin is that everyone is sinful. Everyone has sin. Everyone is evil. And I feel like the doctrine of original sin, at least for the progressive ideology, is that everyone is racist. Like everyone has like these micro not racism, but micro misconceptions of everyone else. So I don't they've just really watered down racism at this point. Original sin is just me. Yes, that would be a sin. So back to where we were. Again, this is the part that I believe proves my thesis. So this is the part that pretty much proves my thesis, and I believe I am correct. And I find it super interesting. Now, this is not an argument, okay? This is not an argument for Christianity. This is not an argument for prophecy, for the existence of God, or anything like that. But what this says is something very interesting. And maybe someone in the future, the scholarly heads, the scholarly brains, the super smart people can maybe research this some more. But yeah, I do believe eventually. Now we're moving away from historicity and moving towards more of a religious aspect. I do believe that this is sort of pointing towards a time where this is going to happen. And so ends my thesis. Thank you very much. And the conclusion. I need a space. Conclusion. This is very interesting to me. And I hope you found it interesting too. There you go. Thank you for coming to my God Talk. I was thinking about calling this cross chat. Hashtag cross chat. But I wasn't sure. Ouch. I wasn't very sure if that would be appropriate. Me, very easily. I have like F all to do when I take the day off. But yeah, that is my thesis. My thesis is that everybody observes the Sabbath. Maybe not every week, but how about we phrase this as a syllogism? What in the world is a syllogism? I'm not sure what a syllogism is. But let's say Sabbath observance is taking a break from work on the Sabbath, Saturday. The majority of the world takes break during the weekend. Therefore, the majority of the world observes the Sabbath. There, let's put it. And therefore, this is very interesting to me. Excuse me. Juwun thesis: all cultures have a rest day. That's what we tackled a little bit here at the start. So the Sabbath is not unique that it is a holiday. Did we ever write that down here? Okay, there you go. The Sabbath is something that developed in the Near East, where the majority of Near Eastern cultures, yes, they had holidays, they had holy days, but these were celebrations for their kings, religious rulers, festivals and stuff. But the Sabbath in the Old Testament was your first workers' rights enforcement type law, because it forced the employers to give their servants a break, like a whole day of non-working. Now, this does not sound significant to us nowadays because we do have the weekend. We have the weekend. But in a culture where people were working like 24/7 and they were doing like super hard work, this was like game changing. This is game changing so that everyone eventually adopted it. And what is interesting is that a lot of these these empires that conquered the Israelites. These empires here, the super big empires that conquered like the then known world here, like for the Persian Empire. Here's your Persian Empire. That right there is Jerusalem. Very small dot there. But what do we know of the Persian Empire? We know a lot. But we don't celebrate, generally speaking, we don't celebrate any Persian holidays. Maybe the Persians do. I don't know. But all of us observe the weekend. We all have some form of a weekend. So therefore, it is very interesting to me. And I hope you found it interesting too. Juwun wants this big, strong man to wrap him up. Where did you get that from? But there you go. I think this is very interesting. And that is sort of it. Moving forward, I would like to do more of these because I do have some Fridays available. Okay, let's go back to me. Now, my belief, I observe the Sabbath. I keep it special. It's supposed to be unique. Now, will God punish me if I play video games on Sabbath? If I decide to stream? If I decide to stream video games on the Sabbath, will I be breaking the Sabbath? And I don't think I will be. Like if you're to just go by the law, of course there's the letter of the law and there's like the letter of the law and there's the heart of the law. But just from the letter of the law, I am not breaking the Sabbath by playing video games. And God said, "May weekends be for the boys." But I think in the heart of the law, it wants you to keep the day special. Which is why I keep the day special. The day's unique, so that's why I don't stream usually on Fridays. But moving forward, maybe I might stream more on Fridays. If people care of these sorts of streams, maybe we can do that. This just dawned on me one day, and I was clearing the ice of my driveway. I thought, I could probably do this tonight. Would God care if it's well intentioned? I would probably like to talk about that more on a different stream, but I think there is this misconception that God is like the fall caused an epiphany. This was before the fall. That God is super interested in like what you're doing. Like God cares so much about like how you live your life, like the sins you're committing and stuff like that. From the Christian worldview, the Christian perspective, all of us are already sinners. Like it's not gonna change if you try to do good stuff. If you were to go to a court of law, like let's say you were brought to jail or brought before the judge because you killed someone. Now, if you go before the judge and the judge sentences you to prison for killing someone, and you say, wait there, judge, 1 second. I donated $1 million to charity. I donated $1 million to let's say cancer. Or what if he said like, I invented the cure for cancer. Okay, I invented the cure for cancer. The judge is just gonna shake their head. No, it is not relevant. Okay, I am sentencing you for murder. You're creating the cure for cancer. does not rule out that you're being punished for murder if the judge is a cool dude. But that would no longer be justice, right? That would no longer be justice. That would be preferential treatment. That would be preferential treatment or something like that. That is how the Christian worldview is. You and I am a sinner. You are a sinner. Every single human being that has inherited like original sin is born with a sinful inclination. So everyone for the everyone in existence is sinful except for Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is like the new Adam. Jesus Christ was born without sin, just like Adam. Adam was born without sin, without a sinful nature. But unlike Adam, Jesus did not fall for sin. And so Jesus, being God himself, being God in the flesh, was able to die on our behalf. Therefore, we don't have to die. That's the thing. Now, if I commit a sin, do I lose my salvation? And that's what worries people, keeps people up at night. Like, if I sin, will God stop loving me? Not to mention all-in-one sin pass to go fight in the Crusades. Yeah, they used to sell indulgences. Yes, but I think the Catholic Church has since, like, I don't know the right word, recant or something. We're not gonna make this about what I don't agree with in Catholicism, but they're trying to distance themselves from the indulgences part, because you cannot buy your salvation. If you don't sin to give others pleasure and help them, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Walk back. I guess walk back is the right word too. That's not how it works, because you see, sin is what makes this world. Sin is what makes this world what it is. So we are already living in hell. We are living in hell. You're living in hell. This is in hell. Welcome. You're in hell. And the reason why it is this way is because someone ate. Now, I do believe this is me specifically. I can't speak for every other Christian, but I do believe the tree in the Garden of Eden is allegorical. It is allegorical. There was no literal tree. But what that means is that something small is eating a fruit. So you see an escalation. Adam eats a fruit. Eve eats the fruit. And afterwards, they start blaming each other. And they start hating on each other. And then their children kill each other. And then the descendants of their children start enslaving other people. And killing even more. So there's an escalation. The small sins that you commit on a daily basis, they expound, like, hurt people. And so sinful people commit sin, and the people they commit sin to commit even more sin. So that is the current world we're living here. Does this make sense now? Yeah. We are living in hell. And this hell is our doing. What the offer of Jesus Christ is that he is going to remove this hell one day. There isn't any proof of this as part of the actual Catholic catechism, but my belief is that Eden was part of a different plane of existence. That is something I do believe more of it to be allegorical. I do think there probably was a literal Adam. There probably was. But a lot of it is allegorical, in my opinion, because when you look at the 7 days of creation, you will see a pattern, and it does reflect the 3 tiers. Should I write this down? Let's start a new document. How do we save this? Or name? Oh, there you go. Okay, let's make a new document. The 3 tiers of creation. So let's do this. The 3 tiers of creation: you have heaven, you have earth, and you have Sheol. So heaven is obviously the place up there. Heaven is basically a little column B. I view it through the lens of the prisoner's dilemma. Heaven and hell provide incentive to prevent the Nash equilibrium. I have no idea what that means. So if you think about the first day of creation, what was the first day of creation? What happened? God said, let there be light. So this is the first domain. The first domain or the first tier is heaven. Like on the second day, what did God do? What did God do? So let me see. I got my things backward a little bit. Let's put Sheol here and then let's put the earth. What is this an A? Let's make this something like that. Whatever. So there before the light, when wait, not before the light. So God said, let there be light. And what did the light reveal? The light revealed the waters. There were waters. The earth was formless and void, and and water covered the earth. So God separated the waters. God separated the waters into the firmament. Firmament and the waters below. On the third day, let's just go back. Let's just go back to the numbering, okay? On the third day, God separated the earth from the waters. So God separated the earth from the water and made plants. Now on the fourth day, this isn't the Juwun I expected. What happened on the fourth day? Well, guess what? The luminaries. Sun, moon, and stars. Guess what? This is the first tier. The first tier of creation is the light. I guess we can just, instead of Sheol, we'll call this the waters. Light, aka time. How do you measure time? Where are the lights? Well, these are the lights. These are the lights. Measure time. On the fifth day, what did God do? God created the birds and the fish. Well, what do they occupy? They occupy the firmament and the waters. So they occupy the firmament and waters. What does God create on the sixth? All the land animals. So there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Earth. And on the seventh day, God rested. I guess this ties back again to this ties back again to the Sabbath. Which is why the Sabbath is a memorial of creation. It's in Exodus 20. I think it's 28. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 28. So I don't think this is a literal. There you go. I don't think this is a God literally creating the world in 7 days. But it is. So here, I do believe in inerrancy. In inerrancy, that means that the message that the Bible is trying to relay is perfect. The means, I missed it. He made us gay on the 6th day. The means of transmission, the means that God has to work within human means, okay? God is trying to tell something, but he has to use human means. So the human beings of the time, what is older? What is the oldest? What is the oldest manuscript or oldest mythology we know? That's the ℚ𝕝 ℙ𝕝. The ℚ𝕝 ℙ𝕝 is probably the oldest surviving document of a creation account, and it's somewhat It does not mirror this. It does not mirror this, but it does. It portrays something similar. But this the way the author, if we believe the author is Moses. Have you read Dante's? No, I have not read Dante's Inferno. Is that like required Catholic reading? Why are my eyes always closed? I wonder if it's my glasses. ℚ𝕝𝕗𝕚 portrays something very similar. ℚ𝕝𝕗𝕚 are just the first words. It is basically the first words of the ℚ𝕝𝕗, which is like something like on high or something. But the ℚ𝕝𝕗 portrays the gods fighting each other. And they create humans from the corpse of Tiamat. And they create humans for the purpose of serving them. So in the ℚ𝕝𝕗, the oldest creation document, the gods fight each other. And the reason they create humans is so that humans can serve them. Genesis does something super different. So Genesis works within this framework. The ℚ𝕝𝕗, or at least the people of the time believe this. They believe the 3 tiers of creation. They believe there was a heaven, there was an earth, and there were waters beneath the earth. That is how they believe. They believe the earth was flat. So the Bible actually describes a flat earth, believe that or not, but it describes a flat earth. The flat earth is a disk. The firmament, what is the root word of firmament? Firm. Firm is the root word of firmament. I wish I could draw. Can I draw here? Does this thing allow me to draw? I don't know if it allows me to draw. But basically the firmament is a firm dome that goes on top of the flat earth. And heaven is on top of that dome. And the flat earth, beneath the earth, there are waters. So I guess it's still a sphere. Right? There's a dome on top, you have a flat disk earth, and then you have the waters underneath the earth. And if you read the Bible without your conceptions of a spherical earth, I need Juwun to put me in Inferno. But if you read the Bible with that in mind, everything makes sense. You will hear the pillars of the earth. Those are the pillars are what are holding up the firmament. And you'll hear the pillars underneath the earth, because there are pillars underneath the earth that are holding up the earth. And these pillars are submerged in water. If you read like Samuel, or especially Job, especially the book of Job, you will hear a lot of mentioning of like Job, or even not just Job, but what's his name? Jonah. Job also talks about being under the waters, but Jonah describes himself being under the waters when he gets swallowed by the fish. He is essentially believing that he's in Sheol. The waters below, that's Sheol. The land of the dead. So he's basically describing Sheol. This is what they believed at the time. I haven't read Dante's Inferno, and it's not recorded anything, but popes have highly spoken of it. It's a big aspect of the Renaissance in literature. To me, that's the most current depiction of heaven and hell. Dante's Inferno. I think the Dante's Inferno personified the devil a little bit too much. Hello, Raz. I'm good. How about you? My eyes are closed for some reason. So Genesis does something similar. But in Genesis, there is only one God. There's only one God. But this God is what is a good way to say this? is complex. How about that? Complex in his unity. Because you will see in Genesis that God apparently talks to himself. God is talking. You've been having some pretty awful sleep. You that's sad. You're always sleepy. Get some good sleep. How do we get Rez some good sleep? You're doing okay. That's good to hear. Because God pretty much talked to himself, like, let us create man in our image. Something like that. So he's talking about a multiplicity in himself. But God creates humans to love them. So this is the difference. This is the difference between Genesis and the ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕦. The gods create humans for the purpose of serving them. God creates humans for love. Basically for love, like man and woman. The image of God is not simply like a man, but God says, let's bring up Genesis. Let's go to Genesis 1. Here, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So the image of God is the union of the male and the female. That is the description of a loving relationship. And that's what God's had for all eternity. We're God's little models. So we're kind of modeled. We're modeled after God in that God internally has a relationship. You know, the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they have had this relationship for all of eternity. They've had this relationship for all of eternity, and God wants to share that relationship with man. So God creates humans to love them. And their purpose is to love God, obviously, but also to conquer the world. This is something that people tend to miss. This part here. But also to conquer the world. And that's why I think the story of humanity is very beautiful. Yeah, I am not a Calvinist, but after pondering Calvinism for a bit, I think the female form is God's most beautiful creation. That is true. And I think there are a lot of studies that prove this. Like, for example, there was this, I don't know if it's called a social experiment. God has a sexy no jutsu. No, God does not have a gender. God does not have a gender. But the revelation of God, who is Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, is male. So I guess we can say God is male. But where was I? I guess they did this. Yeah, God's pronouns are him. Let's call him by his pronouns. But I think they did this, like, I'm not sure if it's a social experiment or stuff, but they asked women to rate guys. And they were only given like pictures. And women rated the well-dressed men. They rated the wealthy looking men as highly rated, but men, when men rated the women, they rated everyone highly. It doesn't matter. Whether they were a server, a waitress, or an office lady, they were all rated pretty high. But a male server doesn't rate high, I guess. But the rich looking guys are the ones that get highly rated. I don't know, effeminate men are pretty good too. There you go. Sorry, I'm sniffling a lot. I wonder if that's because I was working outside in the snow. But let's go back to this verse here. And God said, let us make man after our image and our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heaven, over the livestock, and every creeping thing that creeps on earth. This is very important because this let them have dominion. This word dominion, these are fighting terms. These are fighting words. God wants humans to conquer, basically. Conquer the universe. Universe. See, this description here is the description of the universe. This is how the ancient people described the universe. They didn't know that the universe is the same universe that we know now, but this is how they described their universe. God wants humans to conquer the universe. So when I was contemplating Calvinism, not exactly contemplating, but I was just researching, looking into Calvinism. How do I remove the highlight? There, none. Calvinism is basically predetermination. But the big thing I took away from Calvinism was this is a very hard word to spell. Sovereignty. Look at that. I got it. The sovereignty of God. But basically, I hope I am not straw manning Calvinists. If there are any Calvinists here, tell me if I'm wrong. But basically, this is how Calvinists see God. God is the author of history. Every single thing that has happened in history, every movement of every atom, of every microscopic molecule, of everything has been ordered by God. God has written this story. And what makes the story interesting is adversity. Imagine, I'm not a Calvinist, okay? I'm not a Calvinist. I don't believe in this. But this just made me think a little bit. The story of humanity would be pretty boring if everything was just hunky-dory, right? If everything was just perfect and hunky-dory. And again, I kind of realized, or not realized, I've realized this a while back, but recently, this was reawoken. Why would God write someone to be a sinner? That is a good question for the Calvinists to ask. But I am not an author. I haven't written anything, okay? I haven't written anything. But if I were an author and I wrote a bad guy, would I still love this bad guy in spite of them being a bad guy? The bad guy makes the story more interesting. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I sometimes like the bad guys too. So I'm not a Calvinist. I don't think God predetermined everything. I don't think literally, this is what Calvinists believe. God predestines people to be lost. But I was just thinking about it because I was watching Fate Grand Order Babylonia. I was rewatching Fate Grand Order Babylonia relatively recently. I was watching it probably last week. I think I was rewatching it last week. But there's this part in Babylonia. So the ending, when you get to the end, the bad guy basically wants to go back to reset. Okay. Enjoy round of prayer. But the bad guy wants to rewrite the history of the world to make everyone immortal. He wants to make everyone immortal so everyone can live happy from the start. But Mash basically tells him, there's no struggle. There's no, it's not a good story, basically. Basically, that's what Mash said. Human lives are better from the struggle, essentially. That is what Mash said. Now, I'm not Calvinist. I don't believe God predetermines people to be bad guys. But this made me think, what if this is a better story? What if the story of humanity, the struggle to conquer the universe. If we were just given the universe from the get-go, I mean, essentially we were, but we gave it up. If we were given the universe from the get-go, would we have... I don't think Mash's words were pulled up in court, TBH. I think this story is really beautiful. Like, mankind struggled to conquer the stars, from that first fish that crawled out of water, and the monkey that invented fire, and the humans who first crawled out of their caves after the wars with the lizard people, who were the original people that inhabited Earth, but the humans came, who were aliens, by the way, and they invaded the Earth and shot their super amazing death laser, which was the meteor, which was a ℡𝕝𝕗 meteor. That was actually a giant space laser that wiped out everyone, including the dinosaurs. But when the humans crawled out of the cave and they rediscovered fire, and they struggled. I think that's a beautiful story. If God created everyone with a fake history, let's say, God just made everyone perfect. They had a fake history. They had a fake knowledge of what happened before. I mean, if you think about it, God could have created everyone in heaven, right? We could all be in heaven right now. But where's the story there? And I think this is what makes the whole story more beautiful, in my opinion. This is just my humble opinion, okay? I could be wrong. This is not doctrine. This is not the gospel. But I was pondering Mash's words. I think, wow, this is probably a good story. This is something that human beings will pass down into eternity. This guy sounds like a villain right now. No, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. There will be a struggle. There will be difficulty and troubles and stuff. But that is coming to an end. And really, this is not a, I wouldn't call this like canon or whatever. But everyone who wants to be in heaven is gonna be in heaven. That's essentially it. Whoever wants to be in heaven will be in heaven. Whoever does not want to be in heaven will not be in heaven. So what is heaven? Well, essentially heaven is this world, this universe without sin. So imagine a world without sin. That's very hard to imagine. Some people would rather not live in that world. And so they won't. That is as simple as it is. If you can imagine a world without sin, let's say without, what are some nice sins? What are some nice sins? Okay. Yeah, sin is kind of fun though. If you can imagine a world without sin and you cannot imagine yourself living there. You cannot imagine yourself living there. Sin tier list. If you cannot imagine yourself living in a world without sin, then you will, and you don't want to live in that world, then you won't live in that world. That's just how simple things are. Essentially, if you want to live in this world that God is creating without sin, then you will be there. That is the offer of Jesus Christ, For God so loved the world, the whole spiel. That he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Everlasting life will be given to whoever believes in Jesus. Whoever wants to go to heaven, essentially will be there. That is what God guarantees. But as human beings, we can't. It's kind of hard to picture a world without sin, because we're just used to living in a world with sin. But the reason why we live in a world with sin right now is because we're just so used to it. The one of the best analogies I've heard of it is like kids, like children. Children eat poop. That is just one of the facts of nature. Children eat poop. Why? Because they don't know any better. They can't imagine a world where eating poop is not normal. Now us as adults, Do we eat poop? I mean, can we? Can we eat poop? Yes, we can. We can eat poop. And as a matter of fact, some people eat poop. Eating poop is a sin. Or in this analogy, eating poop is sin. When you're a kid, you don't know any better. Just like now, we don't know any better. Everyone is sinning, and everyone sinning compels everyone else to sin. So everyone is eating poop right now. But when we mature, like from my thesis here earlier, my thesis, eventually we're gonna get to this point, right? At some point, we're gonna get to this. At that point in history, why does fecal matter get brought up in the Juwun stream? It's a good analogy. It's a good analogy. This is like one of the better analogies I've heard. But eventually, in human history, we will no longer eat poop. We will stop eating poop, and that is what heaven is. That is what heaven is essentially. No one is eating poop anymore. No one is committing sin. But if I'm gonna be honest with you, I think humanity will have a happy ending. Everyone is gonna get what they want. Some people want to live their life, and you know what? You get the chance to do that here. They just want to live the life they want to. That's what you have. That's what we have here. That's the world now. But some people want more, and that is something I want. I want more. Imagine, I'm a vampire, were-tiger, manticore, phantasmal species, and a vampire is the operative word here. If I leave this planet, the sun will zap me, because remember, there's an entity in the sun. There's an entity in the sun, and I'm protected here on the earth, but out there in space, I have no more protection from the entity in the sun. I will be zapped, I will be dead. But I want to go to outer space. I want to be there. I want to be there when humans colonize Mars. When people go beyond the solar system to the Milky Way. Imagine, bro, let's... what pillars of creation? Imagine going here, bro. Imagine going here. Like, in a nebula where stars are being born. Where stars are being born. Imagine living on a planet, like, orbiting that star. Let's say that's a star. Is humanity supposed to have an ending? You talking about the rapture? That's the good ending. The good ending is that humanity has no ending. That is what's beautiful. The ending of humanity is that there is no ending. Of course, those who want to die, those who don't want to be part of the new heaven and the new earth, won't be there because they don't want to be there. If you don't want to be there, then you're not gonna be there. But imagine this planet. Imagine this star. I don't know the name of the star. I don't know your name, but imagine a planet orbiting the star. Imagine there's a planet orbiting the star. What would that be like with surrounded by so many stars? What would that be like? And this has always bugged me as a child. Doubted that's cool. This is what always bugged me as a child. Why am I not living in a timeline where I could be there? Where I could be exploring the stars. I constantly dream of these things. Like specifically this nebula and stuff. One of my earliest memories is chasing a star, going to outer space. That is one of my earliest memories. And I think that was brought up after watching First Contact. You know that movie, First Contact? That inspired me to go to outer space, but I think not in this lifetime, bro. Not in this lifetime, because especially the entity in the sun. The entity in the sun is not going to make it possible for me. But imagine living there. Now let's say someone promised to you, okay, when you die, would you allow me to resurrect your brain, preserve your brain, whatever, preserve your brain so that you could travel to the stars and stuff. You know, if someone offered me that, I would take that. I would take that if it was like free. And this person provides you the, you know, provides you enough proof that they can do it and that they have a and that their desires are good, obviously. I would take it. I would take it. And that's essentially what the offer of Christianity is. The offer of Jesus Christ is essentially eternal life for free. Download me and put me in a computer. That's a thing. That's a thing. That is how I see this. You know, if Jesus Christ is offering this for free, like I can go to that random star in the universe in this crazy nebula. Have you ever seen the Christmas tree nebula? That is some crazy stuff. Imagine going there. I don't know if it's really colored green. I'm not sure if this is really colored green. If you go there, is everything going to be green? I don't think so. I think it's colorized. But let's say you're given an opportunity. Wouldn't you take it? This is my reasoning. Okay, I'm not. This is not an altar call. This is not an altar call, but wouldn't you take it? That is my logic. Once my time comes, I will be content to leave. And some people are okay with that. Some people are okay with that. Not me, though. Not me. I think I die. That's the thing. When you have eternal life, I really don't know what eternal life specifically means. It seems like you're going to have a physical body because Jesus had a physical body. I'm thinking something probably similar to like the materialization of the soul in Fate's Day Night, the third magic, Heaven's Feel. I wonder if it's going to be something similar to that. I'm glad you understand, Juwun, and I commend your dedication to your beliefs. See, another ism. Another ism is annihilationism. I am an annihilationist. I don't even think I spelled that correctly. There you go. I am an annihilationist. What does this mean? And I believe this is what the Bible teaches. If you were to copy paste John 3:16, let's copy paste John 3:16. June says he wants big strong man. That's not what the verse says. Okay, here's what the verse says. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. So here's the thing. The opposite of eternal life is not eternal hell. The opposite of eternal life is not eternal hell. The way I see it, we're already in hell. But perishing. So people who don't want to go to heaven are gonna die. And this is what this I wouldn't say the majority of the world believes this, but at least the secular world already believes this. And some people are content with the fact that they're going to die. And so if that's for you, then that's for you. But why die? Some people are just content with dying. And you know what? If I die, I wouldn't know any better. I wouldn't know anything else. I wouldn't know any different. Actually, I cannot die. I'm a vampire, were-tiger, manticore, phantasmal species. If this body is destroyed, I will return to the layer of reality from which all JCPs come from. I will just return there until I'm resummoned. Or not exactly reincarnated, but if someone found another body for me, then but that would require a lot of sacrifice. What if Juwun is thrown into the sun? Then I will die. But it's not true death. It's not true death. As long as there are human beings, there will always be a Juwun. I will just return to that layer of reality until I am called back into the physical reality. But wouldn't it be nice? That is just my thinking. That is just my thought. That is just my thought processing. Of course you don't want obviously you come to Christ looking for eternal life, but you don't stay you don't stay just because you want something. At the end of the day, it's because you want Jesus. And if you can't live with Jesus for all eternity, then eternity is gonna be very boring for you. You were searching through the isms for your denominational earlier. What were you part of another religion before? What's the reason you were swapping? Isms? No. All those isms are just beliefs. They're not your denomination. So Catholicism is very different. Is that you have the magisterium. Now this is the denomination. Actually, we're gonna call it the RCC, the Roman Catholic Church. Or we'll just call it Roman Catholicism. This is the denomination. But the beliefs are dictated by the magisterium. Essentially the church. The church dictates your beliefs. So all of the beliefs in Roman Catholicism are uniform. If you're a Roman Catholic, you believe the same beliefs as every other Roman Catholic. If you're not a Roman Catholic, like in my case, I'm an evangelical. I consider myself an evangelical. Then since you're not constrained by the magisterium, you can have several beliefs. You can have you can be a creationist. You can be an evangelical. You can be an evangelical creationist. You can be a Calvinist. You could be an annihilationist if you want. You can be a universalist. Christian universalist, which is different. From regular different from regular universalism. No, you're not. I'm not switching denominations. I've stuck to the same denomination I was born in. I've stuck to it. Obviously, you don't have the same. Obviously, I don't have all the same beliefs. Like I started out as a creationist, but I'm not a creationist anymore. I don't believe in a literal 7-day creation. So I'm not a creationist, but I started out as a creationist. I have always been an annihilationist. So there, you're agnostic. That's good. That's very honest, I think. In my opinion, a lot of atheists describe themselves as agnostic, but are afraid to call themselves agnostic for whatever reason. But I think that's honest. That's nice. So, like for example, these are all the isms. These are all the isms that you can be as a Protestant. Let's not call it evangelical. Let's call it Protestant. I cannot literally. I'm not exactly. If you're like super into labels, I'm not exactly a Protestant because Protestant usually means like the mainline Protestant churches, which I am not a part of. I am not a member of the mainline Protestant church. I'm not part of that. So I can't exactly call myself a Protestant, but I'm an evangelical. But you can have as a Protestant, let's just call Protestants the Christians that are not Catholic or Orthodox or the old old churches like the Ethiopian. That's another interesting thing that we forgot to mention. The the old the old Christian churches still observe the Sabbath. Like the Ethiopian, I think some Egyptian churches too. I think are they called the Coptic? I can't remember. But the old Christian churches still observe the Sabbath. That's another one. Sabbatarianism. Veganism. I'm not exactly sure if that's a Christian doctrine, but there's some Christians that are vegan. But that is my that is my thesis. And I thank you all for joining me. I do have I got a Bible. I don't know. They probably do. Veganism is pretty much a religion right now. I can think of more isms, Armenianism. Arianism. But this is a heresy. This here is a heresy. As opposed to this is not Arianism, okay? That is not Arianism. This is Arianism, which is a heresy. So we will exclude that. It is not Christian. It is more Is it more common for Christians from another religion to swap for someone completely non-religious to join, from what you've noticed? Is it more common? I don't know. I don't really participate in apologetics. I probably, every Christian is supposed to be an apologist, and I try to, if I get the chance to talk to people, I do share it. I don't really expect people to change. I am a bit of a Calvinism has sort of ruined me. I really looked into Calvinism for a while. Not that I wanted to be a Calvinism, not that I wanted to be a Calvinist, but I found it intriguing. And it kind of ruined me. I am a bit of a what is the right word? I'm not an optimist. What is the opposite of optimist? Pessimist. I have kind of accepted or whatever, adopted a kind of pessimistic. It's not exactly pessimistic. What is the word I'm looking for? I don't really expect people to change. But if someone does, that would be great. And I see a lot of videos online of people performing doing apologetics and people converting through that, which is nice. But for me, not from personal experience, but for mostly like the videos I see, it's usually people who already had faith to start with, like Jews or Muslims. I know I follow some people who claim to have been atheists and they converted to Christianity. But for the most part, I feel like they were already religious to begin with. So yeah, I also had an agnostic phase. But not in the sense that I did not believe. I just believed that I could not know. I could not know for sure. I did accept this for a little bit. I still called myself a Christian, but I did not know for sure if I could believe what I believe to be true. But I'm no longer agnostic. I no longer. I am very sure. I am very sure that Christianity is true. That was one of my religious teachers, atheist first. I had a philosophy teacher. I don't know if he was atheist. He kind of did sound like an atheist, but you never know. But I did not have any religious classes in college. So yeah, all my Bible classes, like, they were obviously taught by a Bible teacher. Not an atheist. But yeah, maybe in a different stream we can talk more about why I believe Christianity to be true. I just wanted to chat about this. But yeah, that is the reason why I do not stream on Friday evenings. But maybe moving forward, I can stream more on Friday evenings if this was to be the topic. If people appreciate this topic. This was high school era. Grew up in Catholic schools. Okay. I did not grow up in a Catholic school, but I grew up with a lot of Catholics. Which, looking back now, they were not actually practicing Catholics. I actually appreciate the Catholic Church a lot more now than I did before. But yeah, maybe if you guys find this interesting, I can yap more about this on Friday evenings. Otherwise, it will just be regular streams. So tomorrow, I'm hoping I could stream again tomorrow night. We'll see how that goes. We'll probably play a video game. But that is it for tonight. Let's see. Who can I? All right. Things have like changed. I do not know how to read. Okay, there it is. I found it. Who is live? You know what? Let's raid into ℙ𝕼𝕼. I don't think I've raided into ℙ𝕼𝕼 in forever, but again, I haven't streamed in like forever, so we will raid into ℙ𝕼𝕼. Yeah, so maybe next Sabbath. Maybe next Sabbath. I don't know. We can do this again next Sabbath. I don't know. Is ℙ𝕼𝕼 live? That's what was showing up. Scheduled for 10:30, so she's live. Yep, she's live, so we'll raid into her. I don't know. Maybe we'll do more of religious topics on Friday. The Fridays I'm available. But thank you so much, Nicola. Thank you, Russell Elon. Thank you, ℎ𝕖𝕝. Thank you, Rez. Thank you, Random Perb, if you're still here. Thank you, Felix, if you're still here, and Cha, if you're still here. And everyone else that I am missing. Press B. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm hoping I can stream again tomorrow night if the weather allows. Thank you, Trav. Hello, hello. Why are my eyes closed? Hopefully I can get this fixed tomorrow. Oh, I have something to share, you guys. So I do have plans this year. I am not just gonna I'm hoping to stream some more this year. And here's proof of the fact that I plan on streaming more this year. There. So I have a little something that is cooking right now. So I will still be I hope to stream more this year. So I wouldn't be spending money on stuff if if I was ending this soon, but doesn't that look cool? It's still a work in progress. But more of that in the future. Again, don't show the plans. It'll only hurt more when it doesn't happen. It will happen. It will happen. More stuff in the future. But again, thank you so much. ℚ𝕒𝕗 ℚ𝕒𝕗 마트네. Can I do this with a hand? No, it's not gonna follow.